Welcome to my Yellow Warden trading guide. Yellow Warden has kind of overtaken Redline as the main line for Wardens nowadays. It's a lot more RNG based than Red, but it has the potential to do a lot more damage than Red. First off, we can look at what you get just by trading Yellow. Obviously Yellow is meant to be a ranged line, although you don't spend that much time in ranged stance. At least you get more range damage in Yellow. You get a skill called Hampering Javelin. You can see here, it slows down the target's run speed. Your Gambit builders in Yellow line, they stack a range damage buff instead of the different ones in Red. So one buff will be 1.5, then 3, and then 4.5. Your individual Gambit bonuses, they only have a 10% chance to apply. So whenever you build your Gambits using the builders, these can apply. Attack duration for your fellowship, great chance to range attack, or a morale return. Kind of like a revealing mark, or your old revealing mark, I should say. And your javelins get a lot more range in Yellow. Quickly looking through the set bonus that you also get. You get obviously more range damage with throwing arm. Hampering Javelin gets an AoE slow, so targets around your target will also get slowed. And one of the biggest reasons, your marked and diminished targets gain another 5% Fizz-Mit and Tact-Mit debuff. Instead of 5 and 5, they'll be 10 and 10. And if you use a Swappy, your Tact-Mit will be 12.5. And you can have a chance to double proc marked, which will give you 20%. It's really strong. You get a skill called Fire at Will. It's not really that great, but it's something. Gives some mastery to your fellowship. You also get a Javelin skill called Dodge This, which can only be used at a certain time. You get minus 10% attack duration while you're in your range stance. And you also get something called Snapshot, which makes your Gambit builders have a chance to let you use one of your Javelin skills even if they're on cooldown. This can only happen once every 20 seconds. That's like the base bonuses you get from Yellow. So now we're going to go into the trade tree. In this guide, I'm going to start by going into Yellow, which is the line we picked. Picking everything we need from Yellow, and then after that, we're going to go into Red a bit. When playing Yellow, there's not really a reason to go into Blue. You trade what you need in Yellow, and then you go down into Red, which we'll look at later. But starting off in Yellow, you obviously want more range damage, because you're going to be using some ranged Javelin skills. You put 5 points into that. Lasting mark increases the duration of your marked and diminished. You want to put points into that. Now on the left you can see a range resounding challenge before equipping the range damage. On the right it's after we traded it. So obviously you want your range resounding challenge bleed to be as high as possible. So you definitely want that. And your marked and diminished go from 35 seconds to 1 minute duration, which is really helpful. On the next line, we have momentum. This is a must for Wardens in Yellow. You want 5 points into this. If you're not sure what this is, it gives you a 20% melee buff after entering melee stance, which means being in assailment in range and then switching will give you a buff for 8 seconds, 20% melee damage. And during that time, especially if you have a seize the moment proc, you can prioritize your strongest bleeds and get them up during this time. Moving on, you have Finesse that you can add. For now, I'm going to leave this empty, but we're going to return to this one soon. On the next line, we have Bullseye, which increases your crit chance. You put 5 points into this and 5% range crit damage. For now, I'm gonna leave rank 6 open. We'll come back to this too. But rank 6 only adds 20% more ranged critical damage. And that's only to your initial hits, not your bleeds. We'll return to this soon. Next up, shields up. You don't really need this. You're going for damage, you don't need the defensive buff from this. Enduring Assailment increases the duration of your gambit debuffs. This is not really something you need to put points into, because your points are spent better elsewhere. Moving on to the next line, you have Piercing Javelins. Looks nice, armor penetration, of course, it looks nice. But again, you should use your points elsewhere to increase your DPS. Next up, we have Barb Javelins. 5 points into this will give you a 50% bleed chance on your Javelin Gambits. The more builders you use in your Gambit, the more damaging the bleed will be. We can take a look at that. So in this example, I'm just going to look at the big bleed line in ranged. As you can see, this requires 5 Gambit builders, 4, 3, and 2. And they all have a 50% chance to apply another Warden dot. You see 50% chance to apply, 50%, 50%. When you're playing Yellow Warden, you're mainly just going to be using range unring, because that has a guarantee bleed, as well as a chance. And instead of range Mighty Blow, you'll be using range Resounding with a guaranteed bleed, and also the 50% chance to apply. You can see the effect of what we just traded. Every Javelin Gambit has a chance to apply a bleed. Mainly, you'll be looking to use these in your range stance, because they both have a guaranteed bleed and also the chance for the extra proc. Next up, area targeting. Marked and diminished are now AoE. Up to 5 targets. This is something you definitely want to trade most of the times. Unless it's a pure single target fight, you can spend points elsewhere. Personally, I like just having this traded. Makes your marked and diminished hit more targets. Shatter Javelins is not something you need. You're not going to try to stack your Javelin bleeds to get burst. They'll make you lose DPS. And the induction duration for your fellowship is really situational. If you want to buff a lot of hunters, then maybe it's good, but generally I wouldn't advise trading this. Battering strikes, once again, this is not really something you need. Suppression is also not needed. Now we can see that the bottom part is grayed out, so we need to return to the top and add some finesse. Just gonna add enough until we unlock the last part. Javelin of Deadly Force is another range skill. A lot of targets can be hit. You don't really need to spend a point in this. Seize the Moment is something that you definitely need. 100% needed in Yellow Line. Do you want this? This means that every time you crit with a Javelin Gambit, you have a 50% chance to reset your Gambit Masteries and remove their cooldowns for 10 seconds. You can take a look at this in this training dummy. This means that if I crit with range resounding, I will get a Seize the Moment proc. Did not crit, so I'll try range unring. Didn't crit, and now I'll just use my Evelyn skills until I get a proc. There we go. Seize the Moment. While Seize the Moment is up, you can use Gambit builders freely, no cooldown. This is mainly what makes Yellow Warden so strong. Seize the Moment. You can try proccing this during your rotations to get your Gambits up really fast. Now that we have everything that's needed in Yellow Line, it's time to move into Redline. The idea in Redline is to get all the way down to Lasting Impression to get that extra dot pulse. So if you start at the top, you have your basic strikes, increases your Gambit Builder damage, and you also have Vital Points that increases your bleeds. And picking between these two, we want the bleed damage. Stronger bleeds is always good. Warden. On the next line, you have Fist Mastery, and you have your Spear Sweep. When you're playing yellow, you should definitely get Spear Sweep and get all the Quick Sweep traits. Playing Yellow Line, you'll have a lot more chance to apply Quick Sweep bleeds, so you should definitely be going for this. I'll just put 1 point in there already. To unlock the next line, I'm gonna get 4 points into Mastery. And on the next line, you wanna go for the light type damage, 20%, increase the light type bleeds and your attacks. You now unlocked Quick Sweep, you want 3 points into Quick Sweep. Aggravating Wounds is the next one you want. Your dots have more critical chance, which unlocks the last part, No Mercy. You want this as well for your Quick Sweep. And you now pick Deep Wounds for more dot critical damage. 5 points into that, which finally unlocks Lasting Impression, 1 more dot pulse. Definitely want that. If people aren't sure what Quick Sweeps are, I will just demonstrate it right now. This dummy. Basically, it's about using your Mighty Blow on the target, get that bleed up, and using your power attack, get medium and low bleed. And the medium bleed, whenever you use Wall of Steel, it has a chance to create a Quick Sweep bleed from this. You can see I got the proc, and it's a really powerful bleed. And same with the low bleed, you can proc it with Onslaught and get a low bleed proc. The dummy disappeared, but you get the idea. It's gonna be a really big damage buff if you get the procs from Quick Sweep. But as I said, it's RNG based. You can see that there's only a 30% chance to trigger the Quick Sweep. And by trading No Mercy, you get a 50% chance not to consume the medium or low bleed while proccing Quick Sweep. And right now we have pretty much everything that we really need. But I'm still left with 4 points if you have all your 95 trade points. The question is, where do you put your last 4 points? This is where it's kind of optional, where you can put whatever you need. If you put another point into Lasting Impression, you're not getting another dot pulse, as it might look like, but your Spear Gambit bleeds will deal burst damage when they expire. I like trading this, if you have all your points, just to get that extra burst damage when they expire, because why not? And going back into yellow, you can get the extra range crit damage, but it's only on your initial ranged hits. And it's not ranged chance, it's just crit damage. This is something you can consider equipping if you want. You can also get more Finesse, you can also get more Mastery. This is pretty much down to the player, I would say. I don't really have a preference, so I'll just go with whatever is needed. If I need more Mastery, I'll get it. If I need more Finesse, same thing. If I just want the extra little bit of damage from this, I just get this. If your stats are capped, I would lean towards just getting the extra crit damage, because why not? Then you could add a little bit more Finesse at the end. So this is what I think is the best setup for a Yellow Warden to maximize your DPS. Utilizing your Seize the Moment procs, getting all your bleeds up, hopefully getting Quick Sweep procs will make you deal a lot of damage as a Yellow Warden. And you also gave way more to the Fellowship and the Raid while being yellow because your debuffs are stronger. So hopefully this guide helps out. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, subscribe, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next one.